Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the SD-WAN Part 2. Throughout the presentation, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box at the bottom, and we will be tracking them. We'll also have time at the end to go over any additional questions that you'd like to discuss. And I will hand it over now to Cody Harris from the Aspire team.
Thank you very much, Kate. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We're very excited today to be bringing you this content. Ultimately, we have been working quite a bit on the back end here in order to develop a kind of fully featured managed SASE offering for our customers. So, today is the first socialization of all the hard work that we put in on the back end to ensure we have all the capabilities we need to provide a flawless service and flawless solution for our customers. So welcome, and thank you for joining with us in this very exciting day.
Thank you, everyone.
So I'll introduce myself first. My name is Cody Harris. My title is Director of Digital Architectures. I've been with Aspire coming up on 15 years now. I started with the company in 2007. My responsibility here at Aspire is in pre-sales engineering, so I'm responsible for our enterprise networking group, our wireless group, IoT, and I get involved quite a bit in selling our managed services as well. And with that, I'll hand it over to Rob to let him introduce himself.
Hi, good morning. I'm Bob Lesher. I've been working in IT, roughly about 20 plus years, specializing, in wireless networking security. Did quite a bit over the years, and I've been with Aspire for roughly going on 2 years now. Thanks again for joining this morning. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. So I'm going to dive right in here. So the presentation first, we'll go over kind of what is SASE at a very high level, right? Then we'll jump into the actual components, the individual solutions that affect a SASE architecture. Then we'll dive into some of the business drivers, right? Some of the reasons why customers are adopting SASE technologies. Then we'll talk specifically about the Aspire Managed SASE Services, the services that we offer, the Aspire SASE Transformation Framework. This is ultimately, how we deliver these services. Then we'll get into circuit and transport, specifically because we want this solution to be fully featured. We want to be kind of the, one source for all of this. So we also will include circuit and transport in there. And then finally, we'll close with solution benefits, right? What are the benefits that our customers will realize when adopting a managed SASE solution? So in the SASE world, we kind of have this, this thought of connect, control, converge, right? So we've heard this, maybe 1,000 times, but over the last 2 years, we've seen quite a change in how and where people work, right? So, maybe historically, people typically went to a specific office, they worked in an HQ office, and, all the connectivity, all the threat surface, all the things you had to worry about were all kind of inclusive to your network and also inclusive to your geography, right, or kind of your specific building. Now what we're seeing is, we have a much more distributed workforce. That workforce could be working at the branch headquarters, at the headquarters office. They may be working at a branch office. They may be working at a home office, or also they may be a fully remote worker, right? Workers that aren't not necessarily connecting back via standard solutions such as VPN or those type of things, or dedicated VPN, but again, are kind of, ad hoc workers that are mobile and moving around different geolocations, right? Now, in addition to that, we're also where we are connecting to our applications and accessing our data from is also changing. So again, traditionally, you would have some sort of data center in your environment. All your applications and data would live in that data center, right? We are now migrating away from that and into this kind of, hybrid cloud world where we're leveraging SaaS applications. We're leveraging some applications that customers will specifically host in their on-prem data center, maybe in their cloud environment, right? Data can now live on-prem or within a cloud environment. So not only is it changing where users are working, but also the data and applications we're connecting to, where those reside and where those are housed, is also changing, right? Control. So from a control perspective, ultimately, this is all about securing this new world, right? So now we have users connecting from all over and connecting to very different locations and very different access methodologies than they did before, which of course increases the threat surface, right? So it's really important that we go ahead and we provide full security within that solution in order to ensure that all these, we're not getting, there's no vulnerabilities within the environment, right? Whether it be a particular user or whether it be a particular application, we have to make sure that we are controlling or securing all that traffic flowing all over the world, technically, right?
And taking all of our policies from an organizational standpoint and wrapping them up into one cohesive policy that can be controlled in one location. I think that's really important to point out, Cody.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and that kind of dives into the Converge piece, right? So the Converge piece is kind of, converging that network access, right? That, accessible anywhere network access, and controlling or securing, right, that network access. That's where Converge comes in, right? So ultimately, we're now providing one solution that provides all the access you would need to your applications and data, and we're now also fully securing all that traffic as it traverses the internet or traverses your, your dedicated circuits. So with that, I'll pass it over to Rob. Rob is going to dive a little bit deeper into the actual components, the solutions or tools that go into this SASE architecture.
Thanks, Cody. So, when you start taking all the SASE components and start looking at it holistically, there's a lot of things that go into making SASE, but, the really nice thing is most of which are cloud delivered. So I'm going to start by talking about the SD-WAN piece of the whole SASE solution. Historically, as Cody said, we took all of our data, pumped it into a data center, and then, traversed a corporate firewall at that data center to get out, which was totally not efficient. So SD-WAN came along and took into account the geolocations that are coming into play, branch offices, remote workers, that sort of thing, and basically tried to solve the problem of securing and transporting all of the data from all over the place. So to make that happen, there's the Viptela solution, the Meraki solution, the Vela Cloud solution to handle that transport and to connect your remote locations. Once you have, your SASE solution in place, all of your users that need to connect via VPN can use the AnyConnect functionality that's built into the SASE solutions. And to secure your environment, you also want to use the Duo multi-factor authentication. So this will give you the ability to add that extra layer of protection that somebody just can't, steal your credentials or get it in a dump or whatever and use your credentials to log in. Now they need that Duo prompt to give them access. Moving beyond that, under the control, I'd like to point out that, with Umbrella, it's a cloud-delivered firewall that you can essentially use from any location and, that has an internet connection. In addition to that, it gives you all of that firewall functionality that you've come to know and love with Cisco. And it's integrated right into the SD-WAN/SASE solution. You also get the DNS security, which the DNS security will provide protection against threat actors, coming from malicious locations, known locations. Basically, it will just black hole that traffic. It won't resolve any of those addresses and, essentially stopping that kind of attack in its tracks. And then CASB as well. And then getting into the zero trust, Duo once again kind of falls into both of these buckets. But then you have the access identity management, which is Identity Services Engine, Cisco ICE, which is a very elegant solution, providing the network access control logs and full visibility over who's going where and when, and giving them that access and basically stopping malicious attempts to enter your environment. And then last but not least, I want to point out Thousand Eyes. Thousand Eyes gives end-to-end visibility into your traffic, gives you a good understanding of what your traffic is, where it's going, how it's reacting, and if you have any issues, even in the process. I know back when I was working as a network operations admin, I would have killed to have that kind of visibility into our traffic. There were, certain applications or programs or even, access to locations where, this would have uncovered what was going on in minutes, let alone spending, days or even weeks trying to do packet captures and dumps and figure out where it's happening. But again, it's a very elegant solution and combines, all of your security and SD-WAN into one solution, which can be deployed quickly and easily from the cloud. All right. So when you talk about business drivers, the initial SD-WAN conversation really was around MPLS connections and, saving money. That was the initial driver. Well, since SASE has been packaged into the SD-WAN slash SASE solution, in addition to just, cost savings, now you get a lot more. So it gives you the ability to have carrier independence. Traditional networking, you had a remote site, you had, typically one MPLS connection, sometimes a second connection. Well, now, you can use basically any kind of connection that the SASE device will support, which most of your SASE devices will support, even all the way up to cellular solutions for redundancy. Branch resiliency as well. You can now create that carrier diversity, have one circuit from one carrier, one circuit from another carrier, tertiary circuits, depending on the device that you use. And instead of having all your eggs in one basket, where if your carrier loses a local location, you could potentially be down, well, now you have a secondary carrier that you can transport your traffic across. The SASE solution also gives you a centralized management platform. So, I like to think about this as like the old days. You had your security department managing your firewall, you had your network department managing your network. Half the time, somebody would make a change on one side or the other, and all of a sudden, you'd look at your monitoring system and everything would be red. Well, that's kind of all wrapped into one elegant platform, single pane of glass, so to speak. I know that gets used quite a bit, but, it's really nice to be able to have all of your policies for all of your remote locations under one management platform. It makes your job so much easier. It reduces the possibility for misconfigurations. And it also, creates a lot of ease in management. So it's one of my favorite solutions with SASE that I like to point out. Your cloud adoption / cloud on-ramp, since it is a cloud-based solution, cloud-delivered solution for the most part, it's natively in the cloud. So cloud on-ramp is much easier for your SaaS applications. Your built-in security, again, looking back to traditional networking, you had your networking department, and then you had your security department, all kind of, doing their own thing. So security was worried about security, network was worried about keeping the network up. Well, now everything's in one box. So, it's all handled as a cohesive, coherent approach, opposed to a siloed approach historically. And then last but not least, you have the WAN optimization. So instead of having multiple devices, your branch location with a WAN optimization device and a firewall and your switching and, everything, now you have the ability to collapse multiple devices into one device. So if it's a smaller branch location, you might not need a switch. You might not need all of these extra things. You can run it from one device, or, greatly reducing the amount of devices that not only are you managing, but now you're paying less for subscription, you're paying less for hardware, power, UPSs to cover this. It collapses a lot of your, Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. Mm-hmm. But it greatly reduces the amount of devices that you're managing, and it's a really nice solution. Back to you, Cody. Thank you for your time.
That is absolutely, man. That's a really important one, right? I mean, when you think about SASE and you think about SD-WAN specifically, not having to jump into, 20 or 40 or 100 disparate routers to make configuration changes is certainly a great driver.
Especially, around update time. That's, if you're downloading 40 different types of software.
Great point. You sound like a person that's speaking from experience.
I've worn that hat.
So the previous slide kind of get into the why, right? Why a customer would want to adopt SASE, a managed SASE solution. This is kind of the what, right? So, what is Aspire providing? What is the components of our solution? First piece, we're offering all the hardware, software, and licensing, right? So, whether this be the actual SD-WAN termination devices, they're, potentially Viptela, potentially Meraki, doesn't really make a difference in our world, all right? We are providing that hardware for the customer on their behalf. All the software is included in this solution, right? So any software that needs to run on those actual endpoints, any software that needs to run in the cloud from an umbrella SIG perspective, zero trust network access perspective, that's all included, as well as all the licensing needed for Cisco to, provide those solutions, keep you in compliance, understand licensing levels, understanding time frames, right? Potentially co-terming, that all of that is included. Next piece is the implementation services, right? So we're going to come in and we're going to implement these solutions on your behalf. Now, clearly, it's going to be critical that we work with you, we understand what your needs are, right? But Aspire, as most people know, we're known as a solutions integrator, and ultimately the implementation services and the capabilities of our engineers are really where we shine the brightest, right? So all the implementation services are included. Yep, go ahead, Rob.
The first step that we always take is, we have a conversation with our customer to understand their business, their technology that they have in place, where they're looking to go, understand their roadmap, and the drivers for these solutions. So, we make sure that we take the time to fully understand the business and not just try to put a square peg in a round hole.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in my next slide here. Next, 24/7 operational support, right? So our NOC and SOC are manned 24/7. Everybody is an Aspire employee. Everybody is within the continental United States. And so from a NOC perspective, we're going to be managing your SD-WAN environment, and then from a SOC perspective, we're going to be managing that umbrella SIG and also providing that MDR features and capability as well. And then finally, carrier transport and turnup, right? So we partner with, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into this in a subsequent slide, but we partner with ecosystem partners that are very focused on providing circuits for customers wherever they are. Okay, so that was the what, and now the next is the how, right? How do we affect these solutions for customers? So to Bob's earlier point, first off, every solution that we develop, every opportunity that we have with customers always starts with an initial requirements gathering conversation, right? So we're going to capture those requirements. We're going to leverage, the decades of experience we have in the field to know the right questions to ask. Ultimately, we have a lot of customers that just come to us with an outcome, and they say, I want X, right? Ultimately, it's our job to know the right questions to ask, right, so that we can kind of come back, perform needs analysis, understand what the customer needs, understand all the pieces and components that we'll need to include in order to affect that outcome, and that's where the architecture design comes in, right? So after we've captured requirements, then we're developing our architecture design. That's going to be all the hardware included, all the professional services included, all the software and licensing that will be included in this solution. From there, we're going to move to carrier transport selection and sourcing. So again, we're going to work with our third-party vendors to understand kind of, where your environment is, where we're going to need to add circuits, how much they're going to be. And then we actually go into the implementation, so the deployment of the SASE solution, right? This is where we're actually coming on site, physically installing the boxes, staging the boxes, configuring them appropriately, and then fully testing them, making sure that the solution is working as expected. At that point, we have a very kind of robust process for transitioning from our professional services teams to our managed services team. So that can be either in a phased approach or all at once, right? So if, let's say we're doing a, 100-site SD-WAN deployment for a customer, as those sites are turned up and tested, we can immediately take, kind of transition those services from professional services to managed services for ongoing monitoring and support, or we can do it all at once, right? So some customers are going to want us to deploy all 100 sites of the SD-WAN first and then move everything to managed services at once. That's okay as well. And then finally, we arrive at the desired business outcome, right? So, at that point, we've completed the implementation, right? We've based on the design that we developed, based on customer buy-in and feedback, right? We've deployed the solution, we've transitioned it over to management, and now we are in a fully featured, fully running as expected SASE environment. Okay, critical to what we're looking to do here from a managed SASE perspective, again, as I mentioned before, is we really want to be the single source for this, right? So what we've done is we've partnered with a ecosystem partner, a third-party vendor that specifically specializes in providing circuits to customers. So the way this goes is, they have a vast knowledge, a vast database of all the different ISPs from the largest to the smallest, where they have circuits, right, geographically, what type of circuits they can provide within those particular areas. So let's say we have a customer that has a 100-site deployment. We literally take that list of 100 locations. We provide that to our vendor. They then go and do their own analysis on which ISPs are there, right? What the ISP, the circuit types are. Is it a broadband internet circuit? Is it, an MPLS circuit? Is it a 4G or 5G circuit, right? From an SD-WAN perspective, as Bob mentioned earlier, transport doesn't matter, right? We're just transport independent, so it doesn't matter what kind of transport we're leveraging. So then they're going to come back and they're going to provide a report on all the solutions, all the circuits that are available within your geographic areas, and then perform kind of marketing and cost analysis on those, right? So, if there's an ISP that provides a particular circuit in an area, but they haven't had very good luck with them, or their uptimes aren't as good as somebody would need or would expect, they're going to provide that information, right? So it's not just what's available and how much does it cost, but they're also going to provide that kind of market analysis of how good are these circuits and how good is this ISP. So once we select the circuits that we're going to leverage within all these environments, then we're going to go ahead and procure and turn them up. And finally, we're going to provide ongoing support of all those circuits through via our NOC, right? So within our managed SASE offering, any circuit that connects to a SD-WAN device that we are monitoring and managing, we also are responsible and we own the availability of that circuit. So let's say at 4 o'clock in the morning, we have a circuit that goes down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Our monitoring platform is going to alert on that, and our 24/7 NOC will immediately open up a ticket on behalf of the customer, start troubleshooting that issue, alert the customer that there was an issue and that we're working on it, and hopefully resolving that issue by 9 o'clock when everybody comes in. So no longer are our customers having to, get up at 4 in the morning because What's Up Gold said that the circuit went down and now they're making a phone call to the ISP and beginning to troubleshoot. We are taking that on 100%, that responsibility on as well.
That gives more departments time, to innovate and truly, figure out where they need to go from a digital perspective and create that roadmap opposed to just continuously putting fires out. We want to take that off of your plate.
That's very true. That's right, Rob. I mean, we say internally all the time that ultimately our job is to integrate with your existing IT team, right? We take the tactical off your plate so that you and your team can focus on the strategic. That's exactly right. Okay, with that, so now we kind of know the how, the what, the why, right? But the solution benefits. So after we've gone in and we've deployed these solutions, what are the benefits that a customer will realize after having developed one of these solutions?
Well, I think it's important to point out the biggest benefit that you're going to see is a more direct, secure path to wherever your data lives, right? So instead of, like we said before, going from your branch location back through the data center and then out, now you're going directly to the cloud, directly to that application, directly to your data center across a secure SASE connection. Ever since COVID, everybody understands the importance, that it has to be simple, it has to be quick, and the solution has to work. It doesn't matter, what that solution is, but, COVID showed that more than anything with everybody working so diversely. So, with SASE, you have the increased application performance across your WAN. You have the agility to turn it up quickly and simply because a lot of this is cloud delivered. You're able to connect to your cloud platforms like we said before. It's more reliable, it's faster, it's more secure because of, all of the innovations that SASE brings to the table. Your work from anywhere model, it becomes, easily achievable opposed to a lot of the headaches that we went through back in 2020. And then lastly, this used to be the #1 bullet point when we talked about SD-WAN, 3-4 years ago. But, it's still worth mentioning, but the importance of the security, I think, outweighs the cost savings that you get from going off of those traditional MPLS connections to cheaper, cable connections, FiOS, or whatever, that's in your location. And then, last but not least, our managed detection and response is delivered by our 24/7 NOC, which is based in New Jersey. So if you're looking for support and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you want to be able to get somebody quickly, first off. You need somebody to pick up the phone. But I've personally, struggled with outsourced support. And we're proudly located in Eatontown, New Jersey. So with that said, I'm going to throw it back to Cody. And again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob. Yep, absolutely. So that in a nutshell is our managed SASE offering. From here, any customers that are interested in having a deeper conversation with us, you can contact us at info@aspiretransforms.com or visit our website at aspiretransforms.com. If you are an existing customer, please feel free to reach out to your account manager and ask for either Bob or myself to sit down with you and have a more robust conversation about managed SASE and what it can do for you and whether or not it's a really good fit for your environment. So with that, I'd like to just check with Kate to see if we have any questions that came in from the attendees.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is great. We actually had 3 questions come in. So the first one, for customers that don't have a full Cisco environment, can you still do MDR?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so, we've kind of focused this particular presentation on the Cisco tools. We did have some outside, but absolutely. So our MDR solution is not necessarily tied to Cisco products. Our MDR solution is tied to what we believe to be kind of best in breed in certain areas, right? So from an endpoint protection perspective, we do Carbon Black and CrowdStrike and some of the other big players out there. So great question, but no, it does not have to be a full Cisco environment, right? Ultimately, what that MDR is doing is taking feeds from your critical security devices, ingesting them into our SIM tool. So it does not necessarily have to be Cisco focused.
Thank you. Next up, we had, can Aspire manage my security tools without adopting full SASE?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I was going to say, absolutely. We have the capabilities and in-house knowledge and experience to manage almost anything. But, I don't want to say anything, but absolutely. The question is yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and we would kind of break it down into, there's the Secure Services Edge, right? SSE, not SASE. SASE, Secure Access Services Edge, is kind of the inclusion of SD-WAN. But the Secure Services Edge, leveraging, let's say, Umbrella SIG or something like that, is absolutely something we can manage for customers regardless of the transport, regardless of how they're moving that data around.
Great.
Not only manage, but we can deploy as well if anybody would need that service.
Absolutely, good point.
Thanks, guys. And the last question we had was, can Aspire manage my SD-WAN deployment without the security tools?
Oh, it's the other way. Okay, copy that. Good questions. Yeah, so, you know, we would suggest, obviously, you know, leveraging some sort of, you know, comprehensive security methodology. But absolutely, I mean, you know, we absolutely have customers out there that are doing, you know, kind of standard SD-WAN without the SSE component or the umbrella SIG component. You know, from that perspective, it's really just a NOC service. There's no SOC to speak of. Really, it's a NOC service, and absolutely, I mean, we're doing that for customers all day, every day. So yes, if you're not necessarily looking to invest at the moment in the SSE component of it, but you have an existing SD-WAN solution that you're comfortable with and you like, absolutely, you can talk to us and we can manage that on your behalf.
Great, thank you guys. Those are all the questions on our end.
Okay. Awesome. So I guess with that, we'll close the webinar. Thank you everybody for joining. As I mentioned before, this is something we're very excited about. Bob and I have been working very hard on kind of developing this solution, working with all the different business units within Aspire to ensure that, you know, we have the capabilities ready to go. So like I said, we are ready to have those conversations whenever you are, and we will look forward to hearing from you very soon, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again.
Thanks.